Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a bowl-bound edition of Pod By The BAE. I'm your host, Nathan Bond. Joined alongside me, Seth Varnadore. Two-man weave this evening for a special Pod By The BAE episode as your South Florida Bulls clinched a bowl berth in the season finale versus Charlotte in their 48-14 shellacking of the 49ers. Seth, I got to tell you right off the bat, reports are I may or may not have gotten a little teary-eyed standing on the field after the game.
Well, there you go.
No. Listen, it's been a very long time. It was a lot of fun. The energy was great. The players just flat out enjoyed themselves. I spoke with athletic director Michael Kelly after the game, and we just both collective sigh of relief as we move toward a new chapter of South Florida football.
Yeah, it was kind of exactly what you were hoping for in terms of that game. You were kind of dreading a tight one, I think, for the last month. And basically since that UConn game, it was kind of like, oh, man, it's all going to come down to Charlotte probably. Oh, my gosh, I hope that. So, yeah, no, it was great. Great how they won it. Obviously great that they won it. A lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and a really good, like a great year one in every imaginable way. In terms of moving forward, in terms of just this season, it's all really, really good stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely. Byrum Brown becomes the first 3,000-yard passer in USF program history. He goes 22 of 30 for 253 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception, and then adds a pretty impressive 35-yard touchdown run as well to add to his total. He's been pretty fantastic all season, and this was just kind of the icing on the cake of a really fun season for him.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, despite I'm sure we'll get to the snub of it all here today, but
yes,
he's been unbelievable. Like he's there's so many other places that, and this is not a transfer portal thing. He's like he could start in a lot of places. He's been a really good player for being this young and this productive. You've got yourself a really good one, and hopefully, you can like get him a car or those type of things. And I think some money's coming open from some other guys that may be moving on. Consolidate the quarterback money into one guy, I think is probably the way to go. But yeah, he's been awesome. Really good representative, I think, of the team as well. Really cheery guy, upbeat guy, and willing to take responsibility when things don't go well. So kind of everything you'd want in terms of off the field, it seems like, and on the field. And it's good to see him hit that 3K mark and kind of put himself at the top of the record book there.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned the snubbing of it all, and I think we kind of know what this game is. USF moves to 4-0 when they have fewer turnovers than their opponent. Charlotte turned the ball over a lot, three times. Both quarterbacks were terrible. Steven Johnson obviously gotten just absolutely annihilated. I think it was by Jamie Petway on a sack. That was pretty brutal. Fencing. Biff Poggi said after the game it was basically the Tua situation from last season. That's very scary to see. Charlotte was just so outmatched. I think we kind of knew pretty early. They went down and scored, and then they weren't able to do a single thing for the rest of the game. It was pretty bad.
I mean, if you listened to the Ponderosa preview last week, we kind of gave a lot of numbers that said this Charlotte offense was really bad. And even against a bad USF defense, you felt like you should be able to get stops. And then Charlotte's defense is all right, but they can only hold up for so long. I think if you kind of keep getting the ball back quickly, and they did. So, like, I thought Charlotte did some good stuff on defense early, and there were times where they were letting guys hit pockets, and then, like, it broke, and it was over. So, like, once they kind of broke them, it was on from there. I think they kind of wore down, and USF was able, with that tempo and all those guys they can throw at you, once they get on you, it gets on you. It can start rolling downhill really quickly, and I think that's kind of what happened to Charlotte. And yeah, their offense was just brutal,
abysmal.
brutal.
I'll give you the drives, and then I'll kind of go deeper. So first drive of the game goes down, 9 plays, 71 yards, scripted to perfection, right? Turnover on downs, punt, interception, punt, interception. Their first drive of the second half, new quarterback in, they go down and score, 5 plays, 74 yards. Next, the last 4 drives of the game for them, 9 plays, 11 yards. That's really hard to do. So good job for them. Turnover on downs, punt, downs. The scripted plays worked for them. Good job. They combined for 145 yards on those 2 drives. And the rest of the game, they totaled, let me do the math real quick, 154 yards of total offense outside of those 2 start the game, start the second half drives. They're really bad, especially when you've got 10 starters allegedly just didn't travel. Spoke to someone, kind of mentioned it last week, who has family who works for the Charlotte football team, and they had offensive guys playing defense. It was pretty brutal, and it bore out in the numbers.
Yeah, it was not a pretty sight to watch. I mean, it was if you're a USF fan, but just in terms of a football enjoyer, not great.
Yeah, it was not great. Now to the all conference stuff. I get it, right? Like, I get the consternation. And I was kind of the mind, well, there were 4 really good quarterbacks. 2 of them made the first team. 1 made the second team. 1 made third team. No honorable mention quarterbacks. But all right, well, 4 per. I completely get it. Makes a lot of sense. And then you kind of look through, and there's 2 punters on the honorable mention list, and you're like, well, I mean,
how is the ballot? Have you voted for All American Conference before? What's the ballot like? I'm sure you don't get to pick 3 teams. You pick probably.
So I did not get one of these
ever
this year. I think this is strictly the conference.
Oh, this is, and that's, I guess my thing is, I wonder what the ballot is like. Do you give 2 at each position and they just like do it by highest vote? Because or 3 or 4, because if it's that, I could understand. Okay, maybe Byrum didn't get any votes if they're asking everybody for their top 3. Because the team success wasn't as good as the other guys. The other guys have a little bit more pedigree, a little bit more name value, whatever. Like, it would make sense there, but that's kind of the only way it makes sense. It doesn't.
But then there's 4. I don't know. 4 punter. No, what? Excuse me.
That's what, like, the punt vote, the punting vote.
5 punters.
The punting vote was split. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you could just if you just have to put 2 guys, you may have, like, it could have been 1 guy got 3 votes, 1 guy got 2, and then 3 other guys got, whatever it could have been something like that, where it's the guy got 1 vote, but so that makes him honorable mention. Whereas if you only can do the top 2 quarterbacks or the top 3 quarterbacks, I could see how Byrum wouldn't get votes from coaches if you're looking at top 3 quarterbacks in the league. You'd probably go, just based on team success, the 2 guys, the Pratt and Harris. That's kind of team success and pedigree, and then probably Stone, just based on team success, right? Or you could even go Hennigan based on team success, that kind of stuff. There was a lot of good quarterbacks in this league, I thought, this year. So you're seeing that like Warner's hit the transfer portal and he's going to be a hot commodity, and he's
Right.
probably like 7th in the conference.
Yeah.
Like UAB quarterback wasn't bad. Zeno wasn't bad. Like
No.
like it's a pretty good conference for quarterbacks. So I did think it was weird that he didn't even make honorable mention with how good his numbers were. I do think that's a snub. But if it's just kind of a simple thing of like, hey, you vote for 2, then it makes a little bit more sense. If you vote for 3 guys, okay, then it makes a little bit more sense why he maybe not be in people's top 3. But the way the team shook out, where you've got 4 quarterbacks on there and he can't even make honorable mention, that does seem a bit odd with just the accumulation of his numbers.
Right. And like you can't even knock like the 4 quarterbacks that are on the list. Like I think by and large those are the 4 best quarterbacks.
And if it's voted on by
conference.
coaches, they're going to value winning too.
Right.
Which 6 games is great, but you look at those other guys, they're all, 8 or more probably.
Right.
So
like I get it. Not surprising, not many defensive players make the list. Amaris Brown, sure. Rashad Cheney, he was fine. Jalen Shuler led the team in snaps defensively this year, and we'll get into that in the Ponderosa. I thought he was probably your best defensive player, or in most consistent defensive player all season. So nice for him to get a shout. The thing that really kind of irritated me more than anything is just how they laid them out in the graphics.
They did by school, right? Kind of.
Well, the honorable mention
was by school,
but then like you start at wide receiver. Like, I don't know. It just irked me that like quarterback was like in the middle, like they were trying to hide it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my biggest complaint. Obviously, Michael Pratt, Offensive Player of the Year. Trey Moore, Defensive Player of the Year. LeJontay Wester, who we saw in person, house a punt and had a fantastic game. Was named first team wide receiver and the first team return specialist out of Palmetto, Florida.
That's correct. That's correct.
Kudos to him. But
we're just built different in Palmetto.
Built different down in Palmetto, that's for sure. I can't really complain about the snubbing because it honestly seems like it was like pick 2, pick 3, and then.
That's my guess. So that's why, like, if that's the case, which it probably was, then it makes a little bit more sense. Like, there was nobody that was. You couldn't say there was a person that. Sean Atkins, I think, is probably the one that, and he made second team. The one that really sticks out in terms of production and a guy that consistently made plays every game.
Right.
That would really stick out amongst the conference because the conference was, I mean, there's especially like the skill positions, quarterback loaded, receiver pretty good too. So Sean Atkins getting second team there, I think is a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah. Like, in all honesty, are you taking Sean Atkins or LeJontay Wester? Probably going to take Wester. Luke McCaffrey or Sean Atkins? Closer.
Yeah.
But Luke had a fantastic game against USF as well. Even with the quarterback out, he did it. He did what he did the last half of the season with a backup quarterback, which is pretty impressive. And then Joshua Cephas, who,
there's some DBs will see him in their nightmares for USF.
Tavin Ward. That's the move upableness, I guess, for Sean Atkins. But the 3 guys ahead of him were truly kind of special this year, and really no offensive lineman kind of stood out. USF didn't really use the tight end as much to really garner anything. Running backs were so up and down, you weren't going to get anything there. Defense, as we mentioned, was less than ideal. Kicker can't hit.
Maybe to start the year. Maybe to start the year, but as the year went on, it got a little bit dicey there.
So you can't really complain too much. As we shift toward the bowl game, there's something happening as we record this in 5 days. The transfer portal opens. So this is the prime window for players to enter the portal. And, USF is no stranger to the portal. And they've already been, I think, 4 or 5 guys have already announced. I kind of start with probably the one that was kind of hanging over the quarterback room all season. Gary Bohannon officially enters the portal. I said back in August when I reported that Byrum Brown was going to be the starting quarterback, I didn't think Gary Bohannon would ever play for USF again. Come to find out, he is not going to play again. The injury, he's been usurped as a starting quarterback by Byrum Brown. I think it was really great of head coach Alex Golesh to mention the impact that Gary has had on this program, even while being out. I'm sure that's been tough for him as he, was really starting to figure it out last year, gets hurt versus Tulane, sticks it out, trying to figure out his injury, and just could never get healthy again, and then got Wally pipped by Byrum. So that's tough, but hopefully he can stay healthy and have another solid, productive year. The guy that replaced him at Baylor is also in the portal. So, life comes at you fast.
He's back, baby. Good. come back. Or Anna might beg him to come back. Who knows?
Yeah, he might.
They've been snake bit since he left.
A couple of players also entering the portal. Will Jones, one-time freak list player,
one time
also in the portal.
One-time Seth Varnadore fantasy team, early round pick. Didn't work out.
Will Jones played in 8 games this season and 169 snaps. I don't have his full stats in front of me, but his snap counts were pretty low.
He didn't week 10. He started to kind of get his snap counts went from less than 20. I mean, he had 4 games that he didn't register a single snap in, and then 55, 7, 25, and 41 the last 4 games. So he started to play a little bit more, but it's a couple of those games where they're just trying to find somebody that can cover somebody back there. So came in with a lot of, that injury. We'll always have him throwing a teammate under the bus after the injury. We'll always have that. But it seemed like that some guy, I think like the guys in the NFL you see come back off those in a year are just the ultimate freaks of nature. And you don't see guys like really come back at top speed, it seems like, for a lot of times over a year, right? So he heard it was the Thursday or Wednesday before the first game of the season 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, last year was kind of a lost year for him. I think he's probably still recovering. And this year he's got to play a little bit more, do a little bit more. It seems more back to full speed. But, yeah, just kind of a bad luck on that one because he had some pretty good pedigree coming in. And like you said, he made the freaks list. And the last staff said he was their best player on defense. So,
oof. That's never fun to hear.
No, so that didn't help. I mean, that could have been who's hurt? He's the best player. We needed him. Oh man, we don't have our best player.
Right. A couple offensive linemen hit the portal. Zach Perkins, he played in 2 games, 7 snaps this season, and also Darrell Bailey, who I'm looking. I don't think he registered.
Didn't register a single. I don't have an offensive snap for him. I think he is on. I think he got hurt a couple times on extra point team, but I think he was on there. I saw more guys get hurt on extra point team this year than many years in the past. So
I'm trying to find him. Holy cow! I'm gonna have to control find him. Yeah, he played in 9 games on special teams, had 43 snaps, all of them on field goal. So special teams field goal. So that's it. Those are 2 transfers. Terrell Bailey came from Virginia Tech. Zach Perkins came from Maryland, or vice versa. Those were 2 of the 7 offensive linemen left when Alex Golesh got here, and they are gone. It seemed pretty clear. There's a hierarchy in the offensive line room. I think with only Donovan Jennings leaving, not going to be on the team next year, it was kind of clear that you got Mike Lofton for all of his faults. Derek Bowman, who had 915 offensive snaps. Zane Herring, who got hurt, he's been knocked around a couple of times. Andrew Kilfoyle, RJ Perry's played some. Cole Skinner, Cole Best, like those are the guys kind of in that mix for next season.
You're going to return like 7 guys, I think, that have like about 3 games ish worth of snaps, or 2 games worth of starting snaps total. So, and then I mean, like you said, 2 guys over 900 snaps this year. So,
right,
you've got you're going to have a lot of experience coming back, but it doesn't mean you can't upgrade, which I'm sure they'll try to do in the portal. But that's one of those ones that everybody's trying to do that. So that'll be about playing time and fit, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And, Cole Skinner, that true freshman who looked really good. He's only played in 4 games. So the bowl games don't count anymore toward eligibility reasons, I'm fairly certain. So he could play in the bowl game?
I would check on him because I think he was at 4. UConn was his, because he played on special teams. Some of these guys played on special teams as well. So there's a little bit of question there on that, because we tried to during the bye week. We were looking for the red shirt counter.
You're right.
Nikola Milovac is also, I think, would hit his 4 games.
Cole Skinner played in 5 games on special teams, and then he only played in 4 offensively.
Yeah.
So he played Rice, Navy, UAB, Temple, UTSA on special teams, and then.
So when we went to do the red
Temple,
shirt,
UTSA, Charlotte.
Yeah, we went to do the red shirt tracker in the bye week. There was some discrepancy between what was on PFF, which we've been using to track snap counts, and what was on USF's internal stat stuff that they put out. So we kind of waited to check on that, and we'll be able to kind of look through and figure out who's going to be redshirting. But you're not losing a ton. That was not like a huge senior night in terms of number of guys.
Yeah, only 15, and some were not big time contributors. So there's that. The last 2, the hammer, as Bill Simmons likes to call, the in memoriam guy at the end of like the Oscars. It's always like typically like the most famous person. That was Donovan Jennings this year. Right before him was Daquan Evans. So those 2 will be missed going forward. You got 1 more game. Donovan's been here since like 84, so I think it's going to be time for him to get a job. J-O-B.
Dr. Jennings.
Looking forward to the bowl game. We'll know Sunday night-ish. They'll start Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. They kind of start trickling out once all the games are settled on Saturday.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Live show, live bowl selection show. Do we dare?
Interesting. Yeah, we could pod.
We might dare, right?
Yeah.
At least right after we find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there
So
we go.
plan on that, folks. Plan on maybe a live edition of Pod by the Bay, breaking down the matchup.
And there you go. I do want to say that Pod by the Bay, the Bay Area Examiner, 1-for-1 in terms of making a bowl game.
So
Not for nothing. Not for nothing.
Not for nothing. We got to get the stink of the former place off of us, and by God, we did it. And here we are going bowling. Obviously, the options: First Responders Bowl, military, no, armed forces. One of the two. I think it's whatever one's in DC. I always get those two mixed up. One's in Texas, one's at Navy. And I'm pretty sure it's
military is at Navy.
Okay,
the opposite.
Sure. I always get them confused. Obviously, Frisco Bowl as well. New Mexico Bowl, I think, is an option. Myrtle Beach, Fenway, Boca. Hawaii Bowl doesn't seem to be an option, thank God, because the travel would have sucked. I think the game's on the 23rd.
Yeah. I would think
not getting back until Christmas morning, I think my wife would kill me.
Yeah,
also, going to Hawaii without her would also probably be the.
I don't know. We might not be at the. I don't think we're at the Patreon level to send a couple people to Hawaii quite yet. We'll need to get
a afford the flight,
drive
and then
going. Yeah.
You got to sleep on the beach or something.
We'll have to get a membership drive going. Yes, Military Bowl in Annapolis. So thinking through it, you don't think they're not going to be in Texas, right? Because you'll have I guess it may depend on what happens with SMU.
Yeah, I guess so.
If they win, because you're going to have Rice and SMU both bowl eligible, right? So I'd imagine they'd put them in Texas.
Probably.
So those are probably out. You got 2 in Florida, right?
Yep.
I guess it may. How much of it do you think depends on who wins SMU versus Tulane?
Well, I think that's going to be the interesting thing, right? Because if SMU beats Tulane, but Liberty right now, would if they beat
New Mexico State,
and the Sun Belt, right? Sun Belt.
They're CUSA.
CUSA. If they beat them in the CUSA championship game, they would more than likely be the highest ranked G5 school, and therefore would get the New Year's Six bowl game. And now you're throwing the Tulane wrench, where we kind of had always kind of penciled in the AAC conference champion to a New Year's Six bowl, and now
it's been a while since it hasn't. What's it been, like 5 or 6 straight?
Yeah, it's been.
So it'll be.
It's been quite a while.
The push down would be significant, I think, for where USF ends up.
And the push down could be Gasparilla, quite frankly.
Now we've heard. Right? Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything on Gasparilla? Has there been any hesitancy to is there a want to actually leave for the bowl game, not have it want to be another home game?
From the stakeholders that I've talked to Saturday and since, they really are desperately trying to get this team out of Tampa. They want to get these seniors somewhere to go travel to, right? Even if it's Boca, but go travel somewhere. I've heard things regarding the Gasparilla Bowl committee not really wanting USF because economic dollars count, hotel rooms. It would just be another game. I think they would sell tickets.
Wasn't there a rumor that will take UCF and an SEC school or something like
Correct.
take a close but not hometown team where you may sell some hotel stuff and then try to match them up with an SEC school.
Right.
I think Gus Bowl got thrown around, which would be interesting, right? Auburn, UCF would be an interesting one. But yeah, personally, I hope that it's not Gasparilla. That's not really you get to play an extra game, you get the extra practices, but it's not really a treat for the players.
No.
Especially if you draw a really tough opponent and you go from your last game at home being an awesome victory where you clinched a bowl game to getting throttled by somebody in your last home game. That'd be tough. But I don't know. I'm really excited about the bowl game because I think a lot of times now it's about like motivation. And USF's going to be motivated. And the way they play, if they're playing somebody that's not like quite all there and somebody that's ready to pack it up, especially on defense, buddy, that's going to be a long game for somebody else. So, yeah, it could be. I think the bowl game will be a lot of fun, really, probably regardless who they play and where they play. But it would be nice for them to get out of town.
Yeah, I think it would be a perfect opportunity for them. Fenway would be fun. Flights are not terrible. Hotel prices are terrible. As we kind of prep, First Responders Bowl, not terrible. Obviously, Boca's the best option for us personally. Just it's cheaper. We don't have to pay for the hotel rooms and like the gas, which is fine. But
there's also Myrtle Beach is one of the other ones, right? That's a possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Boca Raton would be another G5 team. The Myrtle Beach Bowl would be another G5 team. Military Bowl is an ACC team. Armed Forces Bowl, Conference USA team. Fenway Bowl is an ACC team. So it's kind of up in the air. You have a couple that would get you a matchup with AC. Looks like really everybody but the Big Ten is in play for a couple of these bowl games, and then a few of the other ones are just all group of five. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what they get and who they get. So
yeah, absolutely. But man, I'm so glad.
What's your dream scenario? Do you have a dream opponent?
Someone with an equally bad defense. I don't care who it is, just someone with an equally bad defense.
Unfortunately for you, Florida did not make a bowl game this year, so I'll have to do more research there. All right, let's see. All right, let's go look at opponent explosive plays given up, and let's go down to the bottom and see if any of these fit the bill. Oklahoma State, UNLV? I don't think you'd get either one of those. Man, there's a lot of American Conference teams in this explosive plays. Boston College and Fenway. That'd be a fun one. Georgia Tech's bowl eligible, right? That could be an interesting one. Boston College would be great because I just don't think they're good on offense either. So that'd be like a perfect matchup.
Right.
Georgia Tech's decent on offense. They are a little scary. Boston College would be great. How about North Carolina State? And the winner gets Byrum Brown.
I think they would.
They're pretty good on
us. They're pretty decent on defense. They kind of shut down like the presumed number one overall draft pick.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
So, not excited to see that.
But they're bad on offense, so.
I think North Carolina, and Brennan Armstrong threw for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. So just imagine what he could do against this one.
Yeah. There's another guy that's 38 years old. All right. I mean, I think we've got some more numbers and stuff to discuss in the Ponderosa, but
I think that's it. That's it for a victory Wednesday podcast of Pod by the Bay. We are bowl bound. We did it. I'm so happy. I kind of cried. So, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things you need to do. Tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends. Share it far and wide. Follow us. Join the Discord. Join the Patreon. Do everything you need to do because I think everybody listening to this knows this is by far the best USF coverage out there. So do it. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.